Aloha Hawaii, this is Pokalai Nui and you are listening to Hawaiian Potpourri. Welcome to the program. We are produced by the Hawaiian National Broadcast Corporation. The opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of the staff and management of this radio station or of the Hawaiian National Broadcast Corporation. We are broadcasting from the top of the Chinese Cultural Plaza here in Honolulu, Hawaii. Welcome to the program. The way the program works is if you have a comment or a question, you can call in and share your opinion over some of the matters that I covered either last night in our 4 to 6 o'clock hour program, or as we cover it this morning. This morning our program goes from 6 in the morning to 8 in the morning, and it is Sunday morning. If in the event you would like to refer back to some of our earlier programs, you can go to the website, and it's called sites, sites.google.com/site, just a singular this time, and then /Pokalai, and you will get all of the programs that we are uploading on that site. So it'll take us maybe 3 to 4 days, and we have these programs uploaded, but we do have many of our earlier programs showing on that site. You can also leave your comments there with regards to some of the subject matter, and if I get it, I'll see if I need to comment or pick it up and make some other comments to it. All right, that is the approach that we take here. This morning I wanted to concentrate on more the local issues. Last night we talked about a number of things about this Bain Capital and the presidential politics and campaigns going on, and whether or not Bain Capital and Mitt Romney's role with Bain Capital was even a relevant topic for a presidential campaign. Well, it seems that Mitt Romney was the one who used his association with Bain Capital to elevate his qualifications, because, as he says, he knows how to create jobs, and he has this long experience with Bain Capital. And as one took a second look at it, there was a suggestion that the expertise of Bain Capital and of Mitt Romney was to create jobs by outsourcing these jobs. So more jobs created in India and China, but not necessarily in the United States. And that became a campaign issue, which Obama campaign picked up on, saying that while he said he was not any longer related to Bain Capital as of 1999, the SEC filings and numerous other filings shows that he continued to be the CEO, the sole owner, stockholder, president of Bain Capital as late as 2002, and during that period of 3 years, that was a period that you found a lot of the outsourcing of jobs. And so Romney's position is that the presidential campaign should not stoop to such a low level as to talk about this period of time that he had been there. And I think it's flabbergasting to get your mind around why is this not an appropriate topic. The contradictions of a presidential campaigner is not appropriate for a presidential campaign, so you can use it to promote yourself, but if there's any contradictory reading into it, then it's inappropriate discussion. I think Romney loses on that point, or at least that argument. The next discussion we had was with regards to the Affordable Care Act, and if not the ACA, then what? what is the Republicans' proposal to replace the Affordable Care Act? And you're not having any clear statement by the Republicans as to what is the substitute. All they're talking about is, well, we'll either improve it or we'll discard it. And most of the discussion is to repeal it rather than improve it. And in this repeal, they have no suggestion as to what is to take its place or to address the issue of the health care of the U.S. nation. And yet, if you look deeply into it, you find that the Affordable Care Act was the genius, or the genesis came out of the Republican Party. Mitt Romney and his term as governor of Massachusetts, which he doesn't now promote too heavily, actually came out with a care or a health system in Massachusetts, which is the idol of the United States. And he had promoted this particular health system, and in essence it is a model which the Affordable Care Act has followed. Republicans as well previously had prompted or pushed the Affordable Care Act concept, and after the Democrats picked it up and made some changes and had pushed it through legislation, the Republicans are now saying it's a bad idea, etc. So it's very questionable. What are the Republicans suggesting? Some of the questions that should be asked for the Hawaii Republicans, such as Linda Lingle, what is your plan? Or who's that? Mr. Dijou, also running for Congress. What is your plan if it is to repeal the Affordable Care Act? Then where do you go? What do you want to substitute for it? And how long will that now take? The next issue we spoke about is with regards to taxation and these economic principles of taxes. What is the appropriate approach for taxation? Obama is very clear about elevating the percentage of income to be taxed, or elevating the tax structure so that the higher your income, you follow a stepped up amount of taxes that you would pay above $250,000, beginning the stepping up of that tax structure above $250,000, saying that they can afford more and they should pay a higher percentage. It's accelerated, I forget what term we would use in discussing that tax structure. Right now the terms slip me. Not Obama. Romney is appearing to say, no, the rich people, essentially leave them alone. Because they are the heart of your restructuring the society by creating more jobs. And so the basic philosophical approach splits in that area, and the majority of the American people appear to be saying that the richer should pay a greater percentage of their income in taxes, and that's the way it should be. Romney and the Republicans are essentially saying that should not be the case. Other matters we spoke about last night was the concept of education and how it is essentially dumbing down people, so that when you deal with issues such as LIBOR, or this rate changes that is occurring, and the rate manipulation of interest occurring, especially in London, and the big finance houses that comes out of London, and it affects the world's economic situation just by manipulating these rates. people oftentimes are not aware of and cannot really get into. In fact, in that particular case, many people had not been aware of what has been happening. And even when you try to understand it, it's very difficult to understand. Is this an example of the dumbing down of the American education system? Or is this one just simply so complicated that even the reporters have not gotten to fairly and clearly explain what is happening? But there are other situations besides LIBOR. What's happened in Iraq, as an example, and when you have the auditor, what is it called, the inspector general, well, anyway, some major audit that is done in Iraq, and they are saying, yes, we conclude that there have been billions of dollars that have been misused. Exactly how they were misused or abused or stolen, we really don't know how, but we know that there has been this multiple cases of abuse. Now, that's an easy way of avoiding prosecution, by saying we don't know the details, but we know that the conclusion is that they were abused. Therefore, you leave all of the abusers out, especially the major transnational corporations, those people who made money out of the war to get away with it. And yet the general public is dumbed down. There's not enough pressing to go after these criminals, in essence, those people who had stolen the values of out of the treasury of the United States, and they are going to get away with it. It's somewhat similar to the approach that Barack Obama has taken with regards to the international criminals who served in the Bush administration, saying that he was not going after them because he would leave the past to the past and he wanted to look into the future. Then what the heck are criminal activities that have taken place? All criminal activities are in the past, and if we are to say that we only look to the future, then you do not prosecute criminals. And so what is the good of having criminal laws? That they are all actions done in the past. This is exactly why the executive department of the United States should pursue the execution of these laws, to carry it out and find, and you can start with George Bush, and you can go all the way down to all of the henchmen that he had in his cabinet, and then let it flow down to the generals and admirals and others, and prosecute them for their illegal prosecution of the wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, what is happening, what had happened at Abu Ghraib, what is continuing to happen at Guantanamo Bay, and all of these things. The activities continue to go on, and people should be prosecuted. But it seems that the general public has been dumbed down, and to some extent it can be attributed to the education system. One caller had suggested that the education system is built on 3 general principles, and as long as you pass these 3 general principles, then you will do good within the education system and you will be promoted within the society. 1, they teach you punctuality, the importance of punctuality, which has some value, but there's other principles with regards to punctuality, that you should be ready and not simply show up. Of course, there's a comedian who said 85% of life is simply showing up, and punctuality tells you to show up on time. So there's not much depth to the idea of mere punctuality, but preparedness, I think, is something that should be instilled in people. The second thing is to learn to be satisfied performing repetitive and oftentimes monotonous task, because this is good when you become a member of the production system, the production line that merely places candy into boxes or other monotonous activity. Now that they have brought that down to a science, even those jobs, however, are being performed by automatons. So they can be the human being or they can be mechanical, but this automatic process of repetitive action has been going on, and it has been costing a lot of people their jobs. They're being substituted for or substituted by machines. So the next question is, well, who fixes the machines? Well, then probably other machines, and you can go on and on, but who fixes or dreams up these other machines? Okay. The third is the respect for authority, to accept authority without question. So those are the three factors that this caller had said education is based on, and if you can follow those three basic principles, you'll do well within the American education system. What it equates, those three factors, is it equates to a lack of awareness and a lack of willingness to challenge because of the idea of simply accepting authority. Okay, and from there we meandered into many other things about the society and some of the concerns that we have in the society. The whole idea of class structure and the willingness to let things be as they are without challenge. Okay, so that is part of the discussions we had, a summary of the discussions we had last night. If you would like to comment on any of those discussions, you can give me a call at 524-1080. I did say that for this morning I would try to move the discussion more to local issues, and so dealing with those local issues, I had gathered some newspaper articles about these local issues. One of the local issues is what is happening at the University of Hawaii and the money sent for this Stevie Wonder concert to help to raise funds for the University of Hawaii. And I think that one is just as unclear as what has happened or what is happening with LIBOR. Now, in LIBOR, dealing with the manipulation of interest rates out of London and how it has affected many of the mortgages and contributed very heavily to the financial situation around the world. University of Hawaii issue is, of course, much more localized, much smaller than LIBOR, but it's just as confusing. What really happened and how could it have happened? They say that this was a blunder. This was an organization that had essentially what is the word for it? Has tricked and stolen money out of the university coffers, and people who suffered from this process of having it stolen from them are the people at the university. So there are two people who are standing the jerk there, and somehow I think there's some other stuff that has been going on, and I suspect that the University of Hawaii administration is jumping the gun. The idea of suspending these two officials immediately and then doing an investigation, and in the meantime they are filling that position. They are being paid to do this the work that they are being paid for, and yet they are on indefinite leave, I think is jumping the gun, because there are many other things that needs to be done. You can always say that they are not to engage in any further contracts with regards to this particular matter. They are to turn all matters over to an investigator, and etc., etc. But the daily operation of the work there has to be carried out, and so I'm not too convinced about the the judgment taken there in terms of the immediate setting them on leave status, administrative leave, still paying them and not getting any work out of them. If it is the case that the university and that particular functions for which they were paid for can continue to operate without them, and so we can go ahead and put them on administrative leave, then the question becomes, why do you have those positions in the first place? And that may be an area where you have a lot of the misappropriation of funds, if that is the case. I don't think that is the case, and so I'm concerned about the conclusion that this was a blunder. They still don't have enough information about it, and so we'll see how it unravels itself. Other issues that seems to be coming up is, of course, rail. Even this morning, there's more discussions, and I was just reading a portion of Lee Cataluna's article in this morning's newspaper about rail, and that it's just not convincing to the kupuna up in Kaimuki, and the meetings or the general discussions that go on there at Zippy's and at other places, and the great dissatisfaction and the convincing that rail is not going to be the solution for the transportation needs that they have, and that is to have the buses going up into the valleys and bring them down to those areas that is not covered by the rail line. So there's going to be, I think, especially with the change in the bus schedule, there's going to be response, blowback, is that what it's called? And people are not too happy about what's going on, and it will affect the campaign for mayor. That campaign seems to be going on quite positively, I would suggest, for Ben Cayetano, in his being able to raise almost $900,000, which is more than the combined campaign raising of Peter Carlisle and Kirk Caldwell. There are a number of things that is overriding this mayoral race. And on one hand, the primary issue is the rail. Ben Cayetano, in his closing statement in the recent debate between him and the other two, in his closing statement raised a very interesting alternative point, that the issue was not really about rail. The issue was about, as I think he called it, and this is paraphrasing his statement, it's really about the power in this town and the ability to raise one's voice against the powerful. And so it shows in this in his campaign that as one speaks up against these powerful labor unions and against these other powerful players, and if one speaks up against the general persuasion in the political community, can one continue to exist? And it seems that everywhere people are jumping on him or against him for his position standing against rail. And so this is what the election is really about. And I think it's a contrast, as he puts it, that way. And there is, I believe, some unspoken issue of race, or unspoken issue of class representativeness in what is going on, an unspoken issue of locals versus haole. And you can see it in the debate as Ben, Filipino, shorter, stockier, of course, darker, with a lot of black hair, and an older guy, and he carries this local style about him and being juxtaposed on both sides of him with a very white guy, Kirk Caldwell, and another very white guy, Peter Carlisle, representing two different attitudinal positions, it appears, and as opposed to this local guy with a very local approach to the manner in which he speaks, even to the extent of not filling his full time slot that he is given to respond to questions or whatever it is, and he stops after he has said what he needs to say. And I find that those are cultural codes, and I'm not saying it's good or bad, but Ben seems to say what needs to be said and not simply rant along and expand things or repeat things. And yet, if you watch the conduct, excuse me, especially of Peter Carlisle, more the lawyerly approach and the repetitiveness, where people have already heard it, but he will repeat and very self-promotional. It shows, I guess, a youthfulness and not the, what should I call it, the experience and the confidence of yet another lawyer, Ben Cayetano, and both excellent attorneys. Ben, I think, much more well-rounded because he hasn't been essentially stuck in a prosecutorial job, but he is a true advocate, taking different positions and different experiences. So I see those contrasts there as well. I also see distinction between what's happening along the rail line and many other people who are not affected by rail, but who is going to end up having to pay the cost. And so we have some activities going on there as well. Some division seems to be taking place. Let's take a break.
Kaulana na pua o Hawaii, Kupa ama hope o ka aina, Iki mai ka elele o ka loko ino, Pala pala anunu me ka paka. Pane mai Hawaii moku o ke ave, Koku ana honoa o Pilani, Ka ko'o mai kaua I o mano, Pa'apu me ke oni o ka kuhi hewa. Aolea e kau I ka pulima, Maluna o ka pepa o ka enemi, Po'ohui ai nā ku ai hewa, I ka pono sivila a o ke kanaka. Aole makoa e mina mina, I ka pu'uka